Start recording. All right. So welcome, everybody. What we're going to be doing today is it's really just some Partworks and Aspire drawing tips and techniques. It's all stuff we've done. Maybe we haven't done it in a while. We need to remember some shortcuts or some tricks to get going up at the level we'd like to be drawing again. And to get started here, I'm really going to show you a few different resources that you can use besides today's training. And again, this will be recorded, and eventually we'll have it on the ShopBotTools.com website. And if you look under training, you will see other videos that I've recorded like this. I like these interactive ones because you're able to talk to me. Well, you can't talk. I got you muted now. But what you want to do if you have a question is come down into the chat menu and text me something in the chat. And again, make sure it's going to the entire audience. That way, they'll see the question too. So if I answer it, we'll all know what question was asked. And first, I want to start out by really putting a lot of emphasis on the guys that make our software for us. And they're called. The company's name is Vectric. And I just had the pleasure of going to their workshop, and it was a 2-day event, just going over everything that's going to be new in their software. And I just want to say these guys do a top-notch job and very professional, very easy to follow format. It's a powerful software at a great price, and I've been really fortunate to be able to be using it here. And just to clear up a few things, just so you know, when you go to Vectric's website, and they've got a lot of these great trainings that a gentleman that works there named James Booth does. And if you go down to support, you can go in here and you'll find that they have a forum like ours. They have projects like us, but they also have this thing called training material. And I'm hoping to have a great archive database like they have down the road. And people get a little confusion right here at this screen because they say, well, we use Partworks, and I don't see anything for Partworks. So just to help clarify, you get a Partworks with the purchase of your ShopBot, or you can upgrade to Aspire. So you're getting these two here. Partworks and Aspire are the exact same software, except that Aspire has an option in it for you to go in and do some 3D modeling. So in Partworks, we're able to cut 3D, but we're not able to actually go in and draw in 3D. For anyone that's just used Partworks, when I come in here and create a new file, you see everything's looking the same so far, and everything over here on the left is exactly the same. All of the icons and buttons, same thing within the toolpathing. All of that is the same as well. What we don't have in Partworks is this thing down here called modeling. So this is a whole. You click on modeling, and you go in here, and this is a whole new set of icons that allow you to draw in 3D. So instead of drawing our 2D parts, we'd actually be doing our modeling here and drawing in 3D. And besides that, that's the only difference between the Partworks that you get and the Aspire. Our Partworks looks exactly the same. What this does bring up is what I was showing you on the website is VCarve Pro. Now, VCarve Pro and Partworks are the exact same software except for the name. We have, Vectric creates Partworks just for us. And what they have done is they've made it so the only output out of the software, it goes to a ShopBot. So down here where you see post-processor, you have the option of a ShopBot inch or ShopBot metric. Where if you were a VCarve Pro user, right here, you're able to output to any CNC machine. Well, not any, but Vectric does sell to several different CNC companies, and they're able to output to their machine. Where Partworks is strictly a ShopBot. The next version of Partworks that comes out, actually be looking for it to be called VCarve Pro ShopBot Edition. Because we've had so many confusions with the name Partworks. I don't see it on their website. What is the difference? So Aspire has 3D modeling capabilities. VCarve Pro and Partworks are the exact same thing minus the name, and they are for drawing in 2D. So you're able to go into here, VCarve Pro, again, it's the same as your Partworks, and you'll go in here, and they have a whole bunch of just 2D 2.5D, and Aspire even has 3D tutorials. Again, this can be found at vectric.com. And I use these frequently, and I used them frequently. I'm sorry, when I was getting trained. I went through the basic training at ShopBot, and then I wanted to know more, and I wanted to be more proficient. So I would go and download these one by one, and I'd hook up a second monitor to my computer, and I'd have them playing the design tutorials going over on one screen, and I'd be pausing and playing and following along. And the reason I like doing that is just you can play it over, you can rewind, you can go back and forth. And again, it's James Booth is the one who does all these videos, and he's fun to listen to because you like drawing, but you feel like you're caught up in an English gangster movie, but you're just really just CAD drawing. So it's so professional and thorough as well. They're really great videos to go. I had a question here. It says, can you transfer the post-processor Partworks 3.5 to Aspire 3.5? Yeah, Aspire 3.5 does have, it's kind of like the VCarve Pro. It's going to have several post-processors, and there is one over there. And if you can't get it, call in and talk to our tech support, where they can help you set up your actual post-processor in Aspire. But over here you'll see there's all these different flavors of CNCs that are out there, and the ShopBot inch tool change is the same one that we were using over in my Partworks. So it's the ShopBot TC, which is tool change, and that's just the most current post-processor. So I'm not trying to plug or anything. I'm saying these are great resources. So if you go to vectric.com, they've got some awesome videos in there, and I'm kind of doing some of our trainings here, cover a little bit of what has gone on with what these guys are doing. But I like to keep these a little more interactive, one-on-one for the specific day. So if you have questions, you can ask them now, and hopefully someday have a nice archive like James has here. And again, these are just great videos. This one here on tracing and machining images. This is great for bringing, you want to bring in a clip art or a JPEG or a logo and put a toolpath to it. Just 11 and a half minutes, you'll be a pro. It's great. He does an awesome job. And so I wanted to touch base on that, and also touch base on ShopBotTools.com. This is where you'll find this video. If you want to come back and watch it later on, you just come in here and you go to training. And this talks about the basic trainings we hold at ShopBot and different our web-based trainings. But right here you can go to training tutorials and videos, or you could come back actually, and there's a training schedule which will list all the different trainings for 2013. I'm going to be trying to do 2 webs a month, 2 of these web classes a month. Again, they're all based off your recommendations. I think the next one in December is on inlay training, and that is because I have had people just going crazy saying, hey, what's the easiest way for doing inlay text and inlays. So we will be using a full session for that. So if you got stuff you want to see, request it, and I'll make it happen. But again, for training, I can go to training tutorials and videos. Click here to view the tutorials and videos, and then here's the web classes as they're being recorded now. This will be the 3rd one. There's a good one here on tool database and bit selection. Here's one on common tool pathing, and then today again is just to help with your drawing in both Partworks and Aspire 3.5 is the current edition we're up to. So, and then there's just a bunch of other videos. And don't forget too, we have all these projects here on the main page called Projects Ready to Go. Anything from that'll fit on a 4x8 sheet down to just the desktop. And it's educational projects, it's furniture type projects, indoor, outdoor, there's puzzles, there's just all kinds of neat projects. They'll come with a tutorial, an assembly manual, and then all the cut files are there. And those are all drawn in Partworks, and they all just simply use a 1/4" bit. So those are other resources that are nice. And what I did a lot of stuff to get going in drawing is actually go and find some old American Woodworker magazines or Woodsmiths that have some plans in them, and I just have those plans next to me, and then just redraw them into CAD, into the Partworks, and that helped me get real comfortable with the software. And this chair right here, this was actually a chair that was originally done by Minwax, and then originally from them was out of American Woodworker magazine, probably back in the 70s. And now here it is, all in CNC format with no screws or plugs. It's all mortise and tenon joint, and they're all blind mortise and tenons. And this is probably one of our most popular downloaded designs right here. Remember, anybody that's new, you can always ask questions. You can type them in the chat menu. Down below, you'll have these little pluses and minuses. So you can expand down to the chat and make that a minus so you can talk. So you can text me. Again, I do have everybody muted because all the different background noises, you can hear the echoing, dogs barking, and all kinds of things going on. So it's a lot nicer for everyone to view. But ask questions. That's what these online trainings are for. It's for you to ask questions and for us to cover the basics, or topic specific, to get you going. So one other thing to do too is when you open up Partworks or Aspire, is if you go over to Help and go down to About Partworks, this will tell you what current version you have, and I really would recommend staying up on the current version. 3.503 is the current one, and this January there'll be a new one coming out. But every time they update a version, they've updated features, and you'll have people call with older versions that might not have all the same drawing features that these new ones have. So the other feature in here, and this is great, and if you're the typical man or male like myself, reading assembly manuals and documentation just doesn't happen usually. They get thrown away or pushed to the side. But if you go up here and go to Help Contents, it's going to open up a 217-page VCarve Pro online help, which again, is VCarve Pro is the same as Partworks. And I'm sure we've all read through this by now. So, but it is really helpful, and it's a great tutorial. It's all broken apart over here into specifics, and I found myself using this a lot at the beginning, where I could come in here and find different how to use certain features if I had forgotten them. There's a lot of the quick commands that are in here. A lot of pictures. It's really done well. I strive to be like these guys with my training information. They've just done a really good job. If you come down to the bottom too, there's a frequently asked questions, and this is really pretty useful stuff. What kind of files can I import in? It talks about the different files. What can I bring in for images, 3D models? I mean, this is all real useful stuff. And then this one's really nice here. I print this out if I were just. Very last thing, it's called the shortcut keys. And you'll have me refer to a few of them today as we're drawing, but these are some real helpful ones. You use escape all the time, Control A to select all, the F command for full screen. These are all just G on U for group ungroup. These are all things as you start drawing. There's icons and stuff over there, but that's a mouse movement where I could just have one hand hovering over the keyboard, just hit simply a G real quick, and it just group the items. So this is kind of stuff we'll be going over today, is using some of these commands that will help you get a little bit faster in the software. So just remember that's up there, right? All we're in is our Partworks or our Aspire. I just go up here to Help, and it's the very first one, Help Contents. And like I said, 200 pages full of all that stuff that I'm sure we've all read. In parts. Someday we'll get there. So, all right. With that said, I'm going to just open up a new Partworks file, and we're just going to go in and create a new file and do some drawing and just try to give you some tips and techniques that maybe you forgot about or haven't used in a while, or you wanted to see again, or just just learning because it's new to you. A lot of the stuff we do cover in our basic training, but you know, our basic training that we do here is 2 days. It's more hands-on. We do spend some time cutting some stuff and going over more than just the drawing software. We go over CNC as a whole entity, and you know what it can do for you and your company. But again, let's just get going in this. If you got questions, please type them down in the chat menu. And welcome again, everybody. And again, this will be recorded and uploaded so we can watch it at a later date. So I'm going to create a new file. And the way you think about this is this white screen, this white object right here. You can come in here 2 different ways. One, you can set it up as that's your actual table. See right now I have it as a 96 by 48. If I'm doing big projects like that chair, where it's going to take up the entire, machine surface, I'm going to set up my job setup with a 4 foot by 8 foot table because I know I'm going to be filling that whole thing up. If I'm just going to cut out, say, a little spoon for you know, a little kitchen spoon, and it's only 12 inches long and 3 inches deep, you know, I'll change this down to a smaller size, probably the material size that I'm using. I'll actually have, say I have a 16 inch by 6 inch piece of wood. I'll actually draw that down to that size and then try to fit the spoon within my specific board that I have laying in front of me. But you know, for bigger projects, I like to leave it as the full 96/48. Our desktops, those have 24 inches in the X, and they have 18 inches in the Y. So sometimes I'll just have my material set or I'll just have my drawing like this. So when I'm drawing my parts, you know, I know what size I have. But again, you know, say I'm just drawing that spoon, and I just want this to be, you know, 12 inches by 4 inches. Then I know I got to fit my spoon down in this little area. And you see me jumping back and forth. That's one button you want to get familiar with under File Operations, is this Set Job Dimensions and Origin. Because there's times where you'll have to come in and redo a size of a machine, or maybe you're cutting with a new board or a new thickness. But for today, let's just leave it at 96/48. And the material thickness is 3/4 of an inch. Because one thing I recommend right here is, you know, we can set up the size, the X and the Y with the tape measure and get it down pretty darn close. But that thickness, that material thickness, you know, you go to your local building contract or supply store and get a 3 3/4 inch plywood. I guarantee you, 99.9% of the time, it is not going to be exactly 0.75. What you want to do is go to Lowe's or wherever you go and get like a set of digital calipers. Nothing expensive. They got a small little 3-inch pair of digital calipers there that are $20. And I bought 2 sets. I got one by the machine and I got one in where I draw at. And what I'm able to do is take that digital caliper and put it on a couple of the edges of the material and find out how thick it is. Because most of my material actually ends up being 0.72 or 0.71. And just get something, you know, find the thickest spot on there and mark that in your software. So again, you know, 0.75. Even if you have a planer and you're planing down your hardwood, it's hard to get exactly 0.75 on the money. It might be 0.7, you know, 0.748 or, you know, 0.755. So make sure you get a nice set of calipers and get that thickness exactly right. Your XY origin, just to go over this again, you know, is where your 0, 0 is going to be at. I like to draw like I am looking at my machine, and right here is 0, 0 for mine. And also I want to make sure I have 0 to Z in the right spot. If it's any kind of a profile type cutting where I'm going to be cutting through, say it's a cabinet or a chair or something, I'm zeroing to the machine surface. If I'm going to do a 3D carving off the top, that's when I'll have it to the top. But if I'm not doing anything 3D, I'm always zeroing right here. It's a good repetition to get into. Have one thing that works for you and stick with it. because that way when you get out to that machine, you go, oh, did I zero to the top or the bottom? I don't remember. Traditionally, I always do it like this, so that way you stick with it. And leave these zeros offsets off. We don't want anything offset. I want 0, 0 right here, right in the bottom. I want my 0, 0, and here's my 4 foot by 8 foot. Here's my 4 foot by 8 foot piece of plywood. This stuff, I don't have any of that selected. I have it in inches. And I click on this. I want to come back to it. I can always just come up here in File Operations and go down to Set Job Dimensions and be right back in it. So one thing I've done at several trainings that's helped people is, they want to draw the rectangle piece. They'll actually draw it like this in the software, and then they'll go out to their machine, and they'll actually take that machine and that board, and they'll place it like this. So their machine's over here cutting, when it should really be here. So that's something you got to watch out for as well. Okay, what if you have a 3D and profile on the same piece? Where do you set the 0 point? Good question. The question is, so maybe my first couple toolpaths are some 3D, and then my last toolpath, cuts the object all the way out through. I still zero off the top. Anytime it's 3D, I go off the top. Just that way I make sure that 3D carving comes out perfect. Again, that's just what works for me. You're going to find what works best for you, but that's what works for me. If it's got 3D, anything 3D carving in it, I go off the top. So, again, if you're drawing like this, make sure you're not out there putting the board like this. Some people, it's helpful to, down here in no man's land, you're able to draw. It doesn't matter. I know in my shop, my computer stand is right here, and I have a little stool, a round stool that I sit on right here, and then I stare at my machine and moves back and forth this way. So when I'm drawing, I know that that is where I'm sitting at, and here's my computer with my laptop on it, sitting on that stool, and I know right here 0, 0. Here's the corner of my machine, the front. Here's where it's open in the Y, where you load your material on, and then it lays across right there. So that's been helpful too for getting set up for orientation at first, because there's no fun to have drawn this. Say you've drawn this nice project like this up and down. You drew it here, but then when you actually go out, your plywood grain goes that way, and you've got it laid out there like that, and you're up here cutting in no man's land, and you just wrecked your sheet. So, dust. What's the dust question? I just see dust. So. Oh, dust on the computer. Yeah, it's inevitable. Unless you have some kind of a housing or something away here, the computer does get trashed. But after every cut, I usually blow off my table and clean it off. And I just take my air hose and blow the computer out too. And really, too, if you're looking into computers for operating your machine, you don't need anything fancy. You want something basic that'll run the ShopBot software, run PartWorks, in case you got to change something real quick. But you want everything else off that. You want the screensaver shut off. You want the internet shut off. You don't want anything Wi-Fi going on. All that stuff is just a way for you to get a disconnect and a headache and angry. So I shut all that stuff off. I turn everything off. And the only thing I got plugged into that computer is my ShopBot and the ShopBot software. Everything else has been disabled down there, because there's nothing worse than you're 30 minutes into a 40-minute file, and then Windows starts doing an automatic update and throws your screen off, and then you lose position in the middle of a cut. So I would recommend a bare bones computer with everything shut off on it. So, all right, let's get into the whole gist of this session. So what we're really doing at this point in the drawing is we're just creating vectors. We're creating the shapes that we need for our project. So things to remember with any of the create vectors options is we'll start with the circle. All of these have the same thing, where I can come in here and I can give it a center point of 12, 12, and I can give it a radius or a diameter. So if I wanted to give it a 24-inch diameter circle, and I want the X, I will go 24, and the Y at 24. And there's all specific numbers that I just brought this in where I hit create and it drops that in. What a lot of people do is they get a little trigger happy sometimes, and if I hit create again, nothing's changed. But if I hit close and I come and I zoom in here and click, instead of just seeing that dashed line, I see there's something else going underneath there. It's actually dropped one right on top of the other. And this becomes a hassle. If I went over here to toolpath this, and I go and do like a sweep select, and I go to toolpath that, from out here it looks like just one circle. But when I go in, it's clearly showing that it's multiple circles. So you got to really watch with that. And as you can see, I hit the arrow keys, I'm able to move it around. And that's just another navigation trick that people forget, is the arrow keys are able to move things around. Really, to get good at drawing in any software is just repetitiveness, getting comfortable with the software, and just using it over and over and over again. So I'm able to do it with the arrow keys. I'm able to double click on it, and I can grab the center and move it around that way. But remember, in this circle area, we just gave it specific dimensions and dropped it at 24, 24 with a 24-inch diameter. I can also come over here and just randomly click, hold, and drag and make different size circles. So you're able to just make generic size, no definition circles. I'm putting wherever I want at whatever size I want. And I'm also able to zoom in to a circle, and if I hover over that center of the circle, see how it changes to a bullseye. Let me do it on smaller ones, a little easier. See how it switches to that bullseye? Now I can drag that up, and it perfectly centers it in there. So that's nice, but say I drag this one, but I want this circle to a specific size. Even if I've completely let go of it, I can always click back on a circle. I can go back up here to draw a circle, and I can give it a specific size. I needed that at 5 inches. I can hit 5 and hit apply, and it'll change it for you. So don't worry. Got a note here. A couple people said they're apologizing for being tardy. We'll only deduct 20 points off your final score for that, and you'll have to give the concluding statements at the end of the tutorial today. No, it's nothing serious, so you're being fine. So that's nice. I can always go in here and change to a specific size, and it'll change that size. So really, you can just come over here to any of these, drag them in and drop them. You can come over here and give them specific size. I want this anchored at 0, 0 with square corners, and I want it to be 2 inches by 3 inches, and hit create, and it'll create it exactly where you told it to. I can also come back in here and select one, and I can go back in here and I can change the size. Say I wanted it 14 by or 12 by 12. Hit apply, it changes it there. So you've always got those options with these create vectors. You can go in, you can modify them, you can randomly just draw. You're trying to just draw something real quick for somebody, or you want to come in here and draw it to a specific size. So keep those in mind for drawing. Sometimes you just need an arbitrary size. Sometimes you need a specific size. When I'm drawing, I like to draw, I like to base mine right off 0, 0. So I'll change that to the bottom corner. This would be my 0, 0 point. Say I needed, just a 2-inch width, and 6 inches tall. Boom! I hit create. I got it right there off 0, 0. So I got all this stuff going on the screen now. The second most important thing, besides knowing what features you have, is your navigation skills in the software. And how fast can you get around? And this is where the mouse the mouse is really a key to you being faster and more efficient. And we know that center wheel, if you need to have a mouse with a center wheel. And if you zoom that wheel back and forth, you zoom it away from you, it zooms in, and if you bring it out too far, it zooms out. So that center wheel is big. Also for panning, if you're in here really close, I hold that center wheel down and let go and drag. I hold it, drag, let go, hold it, drag, let go. I'm able to pan around inside my software where I can be zoomed in here and just kind of be panning around. So those two features on the mouse, once you've got them down, then you're moving around, boom, you're zooming in, boom, you're dropping over, zooming real quick, panning. That's going to make you quick. That's going to get, and that's something that just is going to come to you, spending more time in the software, is the panning. Another one that's really useful at this point, are there Intuos tables useful for normal mouse and Aspire? I'm pretty sure it's the same. Everything's the same that we're doing in here as Inspire as far as moving these around. I'm not sure. I honestly, God, I'm not familiar with Intuos tablets, so that'd be something to call here and ask the tech support. That's just something not of my realm. Drawing tablets. Yeah, drawing tablets. I actually, all the guys that do the 3D stuff, I've seen them all use those drawing tablets. I have a drawing tablet that I bought off eBay just to play around with, and I'm not very good at 3D. I'm a lot more proficient, let's say, in 2D. But yeah, I've seen a lot of guys use those that are a lot more useful than a mouse. So that's something, again, it's like a little tablet where you have like a pen that you hold in your hand and you actually draw with it. And yeah, a lot of people use those and they're really successful with them. For me, no. I'm a mouse guy, and one hand on the mouse, one hand on the keyboard. All right, so you start getting a mess like this going on in your drawing, and some of them say you want to keep it. Don't. Really, it's something that's really useful in here that we really overlook is sweep selects. And all the sweep select is taking your mouse on the top, say the top left corner of your screen. I click it, I'm holding it, and I drag this little box over. And see, everything that I fully engulfed in that box now becomes lit. Now it's selected. So once it's pink like this, it's just a selected. So notice when I do this, see how I've got the square fully engulfed and nothing else, but I've got partially highlighted. It only selects what's fully engulfed, and that's from the top left. Now watch this from the bottom right. I bring a reverse sweep select up. So say right now I have nothing fully engulfed. I have fully covered. I just have 3 parts that I'm partially touching, and I let go of that. It grabs those. So a sweep select versus a reverse sweep select. Really useful drawing tools. But sometimes you want to come in here and you got a lot going on, and I can just right here do a quick right select and then hit delete and it's gone. Versus coming out here selecting one at a time. So sweep select and reverse sweep select. Another thing that people forget about using a lot is just how I select individual pieces. Like right now, I want this one and this one selected. Those are the only 2 that I want. And the shift command is a command that gets forgotten when you're not drawing. So I click this down, I hold shift, and I click over here. Now I've actually highlighted both. So shift is a good way to select multiple vectors. Remember, anybody has any questions throughout this training, please, feel free to type it over in your chat window. That's where I've been reading some of these questions. There's people over in the chat. I have you again muted as far as speaking because it's just too much interference on everybody's background noises. So again, I'm gonna just I can just do a huge sweep select. and everything that I swept there, I can now just hover over that and hit delete and have that gone. Alright, we got a question here. Moving to complex shapes from an exact point to another exact point. Also moving shapes orthogonally. Okay, how to draw a triangle. Yep, check. Okay, so a couple of these, here's a couple good ones that might answer your moving question. He says like moving complex shapes from an exact point to another exact point. We can get, I think if I don't cover you with this next spot, let me know and we'll go into that. And then Ted, I'll get to your question about drawing a triangle. But this is one of my things that really gets overlooked a lot down here is just align objects. And so say we have just a random rectangle drawn. I think I hit create twice there. So I'm going to double click and move it to find out. Nope. Okay. And here's just some. I can cover your triangle right doing it like this. Polygon. I can just say 3 sides, and boom, it creates my triangle. We can come back to that one. That's just a 3-sided polygon, the triangle. So say I've got these multiple shapes, and I want to align them up with each other. Down here in the align objects, your top 3 is aligning objects in the material. So if I click on an object and I select center in material, bang, it's going to center itself right in the material. But say I have this object down at 0, 0, and I'm trying to get this triangle located in it. And I could be sitting here with my arrow keys and getting it close to the eye, but there's no way I'm going to get it exact. So that's where it's nice to have these other align objects. These are aligning objects within each other. So the way these work is I wanted to move the triangle, so I select that first. Where do I want to move it to? I want to move it to the square. So with the triangle selected, I hold the shift key down and I select the square. Now I come over here to align objects and find the one that I want. Do I want it to the top? Do I want it to the bottom? I actually just want it centered. So bang, it puts it in perfectly centered in the middle. So no matter the size of the shape, complex or not, you can do that. To take us even a little bit further to answer, help with your questions about moving to exact spots, you can also bring these things in called layout lines. So if you look over here where the rulers are, I'm able to click, hold, and drag in these layout lines. And you can bring in as many as you want, and you can also right-click on them and give them specific measurements. I want this at 19.1 inch. Hit apply, and it snaps that line to there. So you can bring these lines in all day long to help you line up. If you're tired of using them, you can drag them off one by one, or you can just come up right here in the middle and click that, and they disappear. So all I've done was come up to where the 2 rulers come together and click, and they reappear. So now this is nice. I like this one for setting borders around my material. Like I know I don't want to cut within 3/4 of an inch of the, or 1 inch of my material. So I'll come in and put these all 1 inch off. Or I know this is 48. I'll set it at 47, and I'll set one at 95. So now I know when I'm drawing, I need to make sure that I'm keeping this drawing down inside these. That way I've got room out here for a hold down. So I think that answered some of your guys' drawings. And layout lines, you get into doing layout lines and stuff too to help get stuff exact. If I wanted the circle on the same plane as this rectangle, I draw up a line like, oops, sorry. If I drew up a line from the 0 point, got a little hidden line in here I need to delete. See that? I got a line over a line down there. It's driving me crazy. So hit delete and get that out of there. Now I'm just, instead of drawing this reference line where I want this, up at 90 degrees, and I'm trying to fidget this guy over to get it lined up with that line, all I would have had to have done was not even bother with the line. I'm sorry, delete key is in a different spot on this machine. It's my page up. So, this one, we'll just delete this out of here. All they would have had to do is say, hey, I want this guy, brought over to that edge, depending on where you wanted it. So you can move it around in so many different spots. It's just the align objects. Okay, what if the circle is sitting on top of the triangle? Then you want them centered in the square. What if the circle is sitting on top of the triangle? Then you want them okay, so I think this is what you're asking. You want what if the circle is sitting on top of the triangle? So let's make circle, I want to go centered it, and I want it on top. So this one I'd actually have to do is get these layout lines out of here. I come in here with a quick drawing line, grab the top of this, come across here at a 0 angle, just a random length, just a drawing line, and now I'm going to say, circle, I want you to go to that level, down, and now I want circle to come over and be centered left and right on top of that. And just go in there and get rid of that drawing line. So now they're exactly on top of each other. Make this a little bit bigger so it fits. These here, if you're going to move them together now, you're going to want to group them together. I believe, watch if we do this, and we say move over to here, it's going to put them like that. I want it to stay on top. So what I would actually do is highlight them, and this is where you'll see over here we have group selected objects, or we use them shortcut keys from the the 200-page manual that we've all read up here to actually just hit group those together, and then center them in there. So, and what I'm showing you today with me clicking back and forth and doing this, there might be a method that you use that's a whole lot faster than how I do it. It's what works for you. I've just got a way that I've taken to the software and do my drawing. The three of us, were three people that sit together in our tech support area, we all draw in 3 different ways. So it really is going to come down to what works for you. Node editing and start points. Okay, let's go right into that, and I'll come back to some of this other stuff. But while he's got a question about node editing, start point. What are they? So say we wanted to cut this rectangle out. I want to do a profile all the way around it and cut that square out. What I can do is, in Edit Objects, I can go into Node Editing. And Node Editing, you see I click on it, my cursor is just a little bit different. I got like a stealth bomber looking arrow versus regular objects. It's just your regular Microsoft type arrow. So Node Editing, notice nothing's changed over here except the mouse. Now when I go and click on stuff, versus it being dashed pink lines, it's now 4 corners. It's points. It's oh, here we go. To node edit group objects must be ungrouped. Would you like me to ungroup them at this time? Yes. So it saves me from having. They can't be grouped together. So see how they're ungrouped now? It ungrouped it for me. But when I switch to node, now I'm seeing where the arcs are, the points are. When I switch back to regular, I'm just seeing a pink dashed line. So node editing allows us to come in here, and we're able to manipulate the size of this. if we wanted, we can grab these. I'm able to, I could select the square, and I could right-click on this and see what my node editing options are. So you see I can convert to a line, I can convert to a Bezier curve, I can convert to an arc, I can insert a point, I can delete a span. Now, if I didn't want that span right there, I just hit delete and it's gone. I can go in here and close the vector with a line, a smooth curve, move endpoints. I want to add a line, so it just adds that back. What I can do is go in here and notice that I've got 3 black corners and a green corner. So what exactly is the difference? Well, the green corner is the start point. And why is that useful? Well, start point we won't actually be using until we come over here to toolpathing. So what it's saying is, if I went and toolpath this, say I was going to go and give it my profile toolpath, and I preview, it actually starts it up there when it previews it out. So this is the start of that toolpath right here. It's saying it's going to start here and then move around. So sometimes you want to move the start points to certain spots. That's where you go in here and say, I really want it down here in this corner. I can right-click on it and go Make Start Point. And notice in here too, even in node editing, all these little quick commands, S for smooth the point, C for cut vector. Until you have these memorized, if you, again, go up here into this help contents, on page 67, paragraph 2, line 3 and 4, that's the, no, it's not the quick commands for them. Again, I haven't read that any more than the rest of us read the whole thing. But I do know if you go in here and navigate down to node editing, it gives you a printout. It gives you an option where you can see all these. And I would go in there and print that out. What I also have done too is I went in here to the very last page, last 2 pages, and I keep this printed out right here, these quick commands, and I have them printed out. Oh, there it is for node editing. The IDS, it's all right here. I have this all printed out, shows you how often I use it, and I keep it by our training computer. So when people are in here with training, they can use this. So real helpful to go print that out. But node editing is great. I like to come in here and really can get custom with some stuff. Make this Bezier curve, or you can come in here and add some designs to it that you wouldn't be able to do in just a regular drawing. Convert to an arc. You can come down and grab this arc, and bring it to a specific dimension. Again, you could turn your layout lines back on, and have have a layout line at the bottom of this, and then offset one up. That's at 4.2. I want this at 5.2, so I know that's 1 inch up. Hit apply, it moves. Say, well, that's all I wanted that arc to have was 1 inch. So I go back into node editing, and I can drag that down to snap, and it snaps right to the 1 inch. So you're able to do that. Again, to switch back and forth between node real fast is just the N key. So, I got the regular cursor, it's pink. I hit N, boom, it switches straight to node. So that's another helpful thing, is that node editing, quickly going back and forth. Now notice this too. Remember how before I was showing you we can always go back into rectangle and change the shape? I can go back, I can click on this rectangle, and I can go back in and actually modify its size and position. I can do all that. However, once I've now node edited this, notice how it's pink, dashed lines, it's a selected vector. As soon as I go in here to draw a rectangle, it drops that off and makes it black again. Once you went in there and node edited it and changed it, you can't go back to it. You'll have to redraw a new rectangle. You've lost that option. But until you've got into doing that, you can always come back in and modify these. Again, anybody's got any questions? That was great. We just went off and helped Larry and a few other guys with their questions. Keep the questions coming. Um, I know you wanted to see a triangle real quick, and I kind of did that real fast, but I just went in here to draw a polygon. I could draw polylines, and give it specific angles, or just do freehand ones, or I can just go in here to polygons, tell it I want a number of sides, and I want the radius. Set the radius whatever you want, the center point, and it's going to pop that out for us. So the center of that's 12, 12. Another feature that kind of gets forgotten in here is some of the math that we're able to put in. And any of these fields like this, where we can physically type a number, if you can do that, you're able to do what I'm about to do. So say right now I've got a 6-inch by 6-inch size. Okay, and there's my 6 by 6 square. But it actually needs to be 6 3/16 by 6 3/16. So again, I can just highlight it, and I can go up here and I can say draw a rectangle, and it shows me that it's 6 by 6. But I really needed it to be 6 3/16. And I don't have my handy dandy ShopBot mouse pad that has all the equivalencies, and it's just been so long since I did the 3/16 decimal, and I don't want to get a calculator out. You're able to come in here and do a little bit of math. So I can come in here and I can go 6 plus 3 divided by 16 equals, and it'll pop it out for you. So that's a real nice feature in there. Another one you could also do is say you had, I don't know, say I have 4 feet plus 3 inches equals, there, it converts it to 51 inches, and when I hit apply, that's it brings it in there and does that. So you're able to go in here and type in different math situations, like, golly, what would 6.5 be? I can't quite comprehend that today. So you could just go 6 plus 1 divided by 2 equal signs, and it does it for you. So it's great. It's awesome. I love doing that. I'll be you get into some little fractions and stuff. It's really helpful. So decimal fraction check, layout lines check. We did some sweep selects and some align objects. Good. All right, we got someone here who wants to see some nesting. So nesting is very nice. The nesting part of the software is very useful. So let's just go in here and create a part that we need nested. And say I've got a guy that's brought me this random size here. I'm going to go 10 by 10 square. And in the center of this square is a circle, and this is the part that it needs cut out. This hole needs to be cut out in the middle, and then a profile around the side. And this part here is what he needs to keep. And he says, here's my design. Here's the size of the material I'll be cutting. How many can you get in here? How many can you fit in a sheet? And how long will it take to cut it out? Give me some time estimates here. So we're kind of estimating a job. So one thing I want to do is, if I know I want that part to be held together, I want these to stay in the same spot. I don't want them to be moving around within each other. As I can, reverse sweep select them, and I can either hit G, or I can come over here and hit group. Now from the pink dash line, they become a pink solid line. So whatever gets modified now or moved, it gets modified together. That's one part essentially. So they don't ever change. So now that we've got our actual part, we need to figure out for our customer, how many of these are we going to fit into this sheet. And that's what's so nice about our software having built into it is in Edit Objects, if you go down to the second row, go all the way over, it says Nest Selected Vectors. And you can even see that they got creative there with the word nesting and have all the letters in there nested. And again, there is a great thing about nesting. If you go into Help Contents, and then there's a whole thing on nesting in here, and there's a whole thing about nesting on the actual training site for Vectric that I was showing you earlier. So you have both of those and what we're going to do right here. So if you ever need to go reference it again. So let's go into nesting, and just going to kind of run us through a few job setup questions. What size diameter bit are you using? So say we just have a 1/4 inch bit. Again, I can just type in my decimal, or I have a 1/4 inch. I just can't quite comprehend how difficult of a conversion that is. I can go 1 divided by 4 equals, and it pops that out right there for me. Clearance gap. Now, clearance gap is what we have to have in between the parts. So we know we're going to have several of these, but we know we also are going to have a 1/4 inch bit that's running around right here, and we need some kind of a distance in between, some material to stay in there. So that's where I need to set my clearance gap. So again, I changed it back. I want a 0.25. I want a clearance gap. Let's say we'll just put like 3/4 of an inch in there right now. We're going to have a 1/4 inch cutout on this side, 1/4 inch on that, and then we need a little bit of space in there to tab. And then border. How much do we want left all around the border here? And I'll just give it 1 inch right now. So now we can get in here and say, hey, do we want to rotate parts at an angle? Can we? Maybe this job, it doesn't matter which way the grain of the wood is going, so it's not a big deal if we actually go in and rotate parts. Maybe it is. Maybe it's on a piece of plywood that the grain has to be going one way, so we wouldn't want to rotate the parts. But maybe this is cut out of PVC where it's all made and there is no grain or direction, so I can say, yeah, go ahead and rotate. For this one, I'm not gonna have a rotate. Are parts able to be mirrored? If we're cutting out a bunch of letters, we probably don't want mirrored letters because then they'll read backwards. This one's not going to matter if it's mirrored. It's symmetrical all the way around. And allow parts to fit inside other parts. So say we knew that this circle right here is getting cut out and it's just going to get scrapped. Maybe we have another smaller part that we need to cut out, and you could actually have it nest inside here. I've done that on several. If you go to our ready to cut projects, you'll see the one that's called the ShopBot Smokehouse. And I needed every inch of that 4-foot by 8-foot sheet. And inside the door cutouts, you'll see where there's some actual parts in there that have been hidden, nested inside another part. Let me get rid of this part here. I don't need that. And this is the one I wanted. And right here, this is where you can say, where do you want it to nest from? I'm just going to say the bottom corner and nest either in the X or the Y. Right now, we kind of need a rough estimate. How many we think? I don't know. I'm going to say I can get 20 out of here, just for grains. And I have to hit apply. And when I do hit apply, it actually assigns a number. Now, for you guys that are going to be watching this in 2013, the new version of PartWorks and Aspire has a preview button right here. It says Preview Nest. I believe it did. I'm trying to remember back to our training up there in Cincinnati, where I could preview it. Where now I have to hit Nest. Oh, no suitable vectors are. I need to select the vectors and now hit Nest. So it shows no problem. I hit 20. So I know I could probably get 4, 8, 12 more. Let's go 15 just to show you what happens if we have too many. I hit Control Z, which is the same as going Edit, Undo, Delete. So, or undo, whatever you had to undo. And I'm going to actually change this to 35 and hit Apply, and then hit Nest. Now you see I've got sheet 1 is created here, and I see that I've got 3 extra ones over here. So I don't, I can't fit that many on there. So what I would actually do is do it again, Edit, Undo, or Control Z. That's my favorite command on this software, and it's my own fault. So I would actually go in there and type in 3 less, which is 32. So, or again, I could do the whole math part. But, so I got to hit Apply, so it changes, and then I hit Nest, and then boom, there they are. There's my 32, fit perfect. So I can come now in here, hit Close, and don't forget we have this measuring tool right here, and I can go in here and confirm, that I leave enough distance in between. I drag it across. That's 1 inch. Am I okay with 1 inch? Well, why don't I just draw a quick little thing? I know my bit is 0.25, so I'm just going to drop in a couple of little 0.25 circles to, that's showing me that I'm going to be cutting out here, and I'll be cutting out here. Look at all that distance I have in between. I definitely am safe, so I feel good about the nest. But what about this? I could also center this in the part a little bit more. There's no reason to having. I mean, what am I going to do with the 6-inch piece right here? If I don't need that per se, I can sweep select them all, and I can say align and center, and boom, it centers it in. Now I got plenty of room around here for hold down. Or maybe I need some hold down in the middle, and I know I've got room to spare, so maybe I'll just take this half and use my arrow keys and nudge these over, and maybe grab these here and nudge these over. So now I've got plenty of room in between here. In between here, I could run some screws in if I had to do some hold down. And then from here, I would go, and I'll come to the tool pathing later, but I would just come and quickly put a tool path to this. I had 0.75, go a little bit deeper, select, I said a 1/4 inch, and say I set all the parameters up exact, I would run it, preview all the tool paths, make sure I was happy with them, and get an estimated time. About 28 minutes to do that many pieces. So again, I didn't get into specifics of adding tabs or ramps or any of that. It's stuff we can come back to, but just to give you a gist of nesting. So that is the nest. Sometimes nesting, it's gonna do the best for you and fit parts. Sometimes I've been able to outsmart the nest and actually do the nest and then sneak in a few more parts. But in this case, it did a perfect job and got our parts in there. So that is nesting. A couple drawing commands that get overlooked a lot and forgotten, but are still somewhat useful. It's like, say we wanted to make a sign with multiple shapes in it, and this one I find gets overlooked quite a bit. So there's my, the long part of the sign, and maybe I want to have some sort of a circular part in the middle, and I can just sweep select them. I can have them centered. I didn't quite center the way I wanted it, so I center that in the middle. I center that in the middle. So here's my parts. And a lot of us are used to going over here and using the scissors, which is trim vectors. And I would go right here, and here's 1, 2, whoops, I don't want that, trimmed it right off. That trims it off too. I'm just hitting here, undoing and trimming, undoing and trimming. It can be a pain sometimes. What is real nice to have is I can just have both objects selected, and you can come down here to weld selected vectors, subtract vectors, or keep overlap. So if I weld selected vectors, bang, that's just become my one new design right there, which is really useful. Now I could come in here and add my I can add my stuff as text or 3D or whatever I needed to do. So if I do an edit undo, let's see what happens on these other ones. Now that was the subtract vector, so it subtracted where they overlapped. And this one here would be keep overlap. So just some useful stuff to remember. Things that get overlooked and forgotten. So weld selected vectors. I got a question here that says, can Partworks file be saved as a DXF? So yeah, so this is my project right here, let's say, and I'm done with this. I can come up, I can highlight this, and I can file, and I can actually export it out as a DXF right there. So I hope that answers your question, Gary. Again, these are all things that we've done in your basic training. You use, but certain ones of these they just get forgotten. We haven't used them in a long time, or it's just something that maybe a little bit quicker for you to draw. And some of you guys might have a couple of these techniques that I haven't even been covering that you might want to go over. Go back to node editing real quick. This is one that we forget about a lot. Is say I'm in here and I've right-clicked on this and I've deleted a span. Well, we know that we can also right-click and say close vector with a line, a smooth curve, or move endpoints. So I got boom. I've selected. I've brought it right back in there. Some other ones that as we're drawing. Oh, it's not going to grab over there. So I say I went in here and I cut the vector, and I've actually went and eliminated this part of the project out. Even not in node editing, there's objects that you can come over here, these bottom three, and join or close with a straight line, with a smooth curve, or to move a common toolpath. So same thing that's in the node. You don't have to go in there to find it. You can do it right there. So edit, undo, and it just shows the different options. Versus me having to come up here. Say I just want a straight line. I got to draw a polyline. There's a click. Here's a click. There's a click. So did I even get the ends right? No. So now I got to come in here and do a trim. So then you got to come in here and check. Did it get joined? Is it closed? Yes, it's closed. Or what I could have just had was right here. It says join / close vectors with a straight line. So when it's highlighted, it's one click and done versus all the other clicks. All right, let's see what we have for some questions here. I'm working with text and trying to cut profiles of script that I string together, but I seem to have too many start points and the end points seem too. Text on curve, can you do that with holes? All right, so we got some text questions here we're getting into. So first of all, text can be a little tricky sometimes, and let's just remember that when we're drawing with text, sorry, the computer's loading up. When we actually come in here and draw or create text, what we actually can do is create the text, give it our specific font, bold it, center it, whatever we want to do, change the height. We can do all that, give it an anchor point. But I'm also, just like I was up here with the circles and the rectangles, I'm able to come in here, move it, and drag it to whatever size. But notice how when text comes in versus coming in as just an individual vector, which is your dashed pink line, it's coming in as a solid line. So text is grouped together. It's already been grouped. So it needs to stay as a group for V-carving purposes. Once it's broken up into individual, it's not going to V-carve the same. And I know I'm getting a boatload of questions over here, and I will go back to them. If I've skipped them, I will come back. I apologize, but they are just showing up like crazy in the little chat window, which is perfect. That's what I wanted you here for. We've even maxed out our group. We can't have people. We're up to 26, so 25 including me. So that's great. So if you get booted out of here, you won't be able to come back in probably, because there are probably people waiting to come in. So stay on board. Draw text within a vector box, edit text spacing and curve, and convert objects to curve and wrap text. So that's different options that we have. The question was wrapping it to a curve. So we can bring this out, a big circle. And the way I would actually do this is you come in here and it's really nice. You just kind of read along. Select a single line of text and the curve to wrap it into or onto. So I want this selected, and I hit Shift, and I want it selected to this curve. and then bang, it brings up all these different options. And this is where you can just come in here and start filling it out for how you want it specific. You want it wrapped along the curve, kept vertical. Right there, I just shrunk it down to my size. Maybe I didn't want it to be that size. I can scale it. I can change it. I can move it. You can also come in here and say I wanted to. I could come in here and cut the shape and put it in different spots. With this cut in half now. With this cut in half, it's two different vectors, so I could actually have it if I wanted to wrap it to the top. And I'm not going to get into each specifics here, but I could wrap it up around the top. What happens, this is the number one thing that happens when people do this, and this is what I wanted to show you because I know it makes me mad when I do it. How come it's coming up backwards every time? And then we get a lot of calls for this. They try mirroring it and flipping it around. What happened is I'm going to hit Edit Undo, and if I go in here to the node editing and I look, over here's my start point. So it's wrapping it to the curve off your start point. So if I go over here and right-click this and go Make Start Point, now when I go in here, oh, no, I don't want to, I just want to do this. And I want to wrap it to that, and I hit Apply. Now it puts it up there. So, and you're able to come in here and do a lot of different editing with this text. I like this one, Edit Text Spacing and Curve. I can actually come in here and say maybe I feel like that R and that A are too close to each other. If I click on it, see how it's moving it closer? Well, that's the opposite of what I wanted. I actually wanted to move it apart. So if I hold Shift, I can sit there and keep clicking, and it'll move that apart. So if you have a specific curve that you want the text to fit perfectly to, I can come in here and space these all out a little bit more. So that's really nice to be able to do that. And convert objects to curves. Watch what's going to happen when I do this. Get rid of this guy. I've actually went in there and I've switched them to curves. They're no longer the grouped object that they were, so they're no longer going to be carved the same. I could go in here and toolpath them still, but they're not grouped as one main entity. But somebody might want to do this because maybe they want to come in here. I just double-clicked on it, and maybe make things a little wacky. Add some, add some features to it. Like here, I can just, flip it over, whatever. Sometimes people like to do goofy things with text. That looks absolutely silly. That's why I'm not a creative artist. So, all right, let me go back over here to the question log and see who I've forgotten and messed. Text on a curve. Can you do that with holes? Now that's a great one. Yeah. Can I do text? We can do text on curves. Can I do holes on a curve? So let me just go clear screen here. Delete. And so say I've got this circle here. Let me just kind of give you a little setup. So I got a washer, and now, I'm getting click happy. So exciting. Say I want to wrap circles, this size, all the way around this, bigger washer. So what I would actually come in here and do is say, where do I want them wrapped at? And I give it a specific size, and let's just take this guy and move him left and oops. I want him centered on this one. Say that's where I want those. What I could actually do is copy objects along vectors, and I could say, copy these circles I could give it a number. Oops, sorry. Copy those. I want to copy it around this. I should drop it in there. Oops, I had the size wrong. So this one is actually copying circles. I wanted to copy the object. So I'd say copy this to this. Copy the object. I want 6 of them. I want 12 of them. And I hit copy, and boom, it drops them in exactly along there. I didn't even have to line it up. It lined it all up itself for me. So I go in here and delete the original, delete the layout line, and there's my part right there. So and you can do that same thing with you don't have to do it in circular array either. I could have went in here and let's say I want to keep this. This is neat. Maybe I'll use this for something in a little bit. I just drag it over here into no man's land. It can hang out. It's not hurting anybody over there. Same thing I just did with those circles. If I wanted to, create vectors in a linear pattern instead of the circular, I just did. Where did I do that? I did copy objects along vectors. I can also come in here and copy objects in a linear or circular array. So it's a way to do that as well. We'll do a rectangle for this one. So there's my selected object size. I want to do a rectangular array, and I just tell it how many columns I want. If say I want 5 columns, and I want 6 rows, and I can give it a gap, or the spacing in between the X and the Y. So you'll just give it an inch in between each. And I hit copy, and it copies those and makes them for me. It's so much faster than having to do any kind of copy and paste. And some of these I'm going over a little quick. If you want, say, hey, slow down, show that again. Just type that into me, and I will make sure that I do that. So I want to go slow, but I also want to go fast to cover as much as I can for you. You can always come back and watch it again. But I also have no problem coming back and showing this step over again. I think I'm getting a little fast because I've been trying to answer all these questions from getting caught up. So text on curve, we did that with holes. Check. Okay. Cut out the tabs. Maybe it's because I bought a used machine that came with Part Wizard, but I can't figure out how to move or delete start points. Yeah, again, I'm only up on current software as far as what it's able to do. If you have specific Part Wizard questions, I recommend getting on our forum. I personally have not used Part Wizard, so I couldn't tell you where to edit tabs or start points with the Part Wizard. Again, that's older software. We do do some support on it, but current PartWorks software and current Aspire is what we're selling with the machines, and again, that's what I do the trainings on. So eventually next year I'll be doing it on Aspire and PartWorks version 4. So that's where the training is. So you can go on to ShopBotTools.com, go on our forum and ask any questions on there about some of that older stuff. And same with the next question here. Will there be a session working with CorelDRAW? No, there will not. All of my sessions are in PartWorks or Aspire. That's what we sell with our machine. Vectric has been great collaborators with us over the years. That's who we use for our drawing software, and that's what I'll be doing the trainings on. Again, some of these you can obviously get. We could do specific training, so you can call and talk to Diane in sales about setting up a training for some of these other softwares. But as far as any of the trainings you'll see with me online, or in PartWorks or Aspire, I've got a guy here asking a question: how do I make a BMP to a vector? That's a great question. You're checking. I'm checking things off my list before I even get to them. So thank you. Let me delete these out of here. So what he's asking is, he's asking is a BMP file to a vector. So BMP, JPEGs, What you can do is come up here to import a bitmap for tracing. And I click on this. I'm not sure if this computer has any pictures. Let's go in here and see what we got. I think this is what you were asking for. So really what it's saying is it's bringing in a BMP, a JPEG, a GIF, a TIFF, a PNG. It's bringing in any of these different ones. I have no idea what these even are. So I could bring this bitmap in, JPEG, or any of the following, and maybe I just want to trace the outline of the mountains for a background I want to put into my project, a cloud or something. Once I've went up here and used this import tracing, now I've got the picture. I actually need to trace it. So in Create Vectors, go down to the third one, and that's where you can fit vectors to bitmap. And here's where we can pick color, black and white, and let's say I'll go color, and I just want to select with black right there. Just see how it comes out. It makes just makes a nice little pink line in there, and you can pick as many colors as you want it to select to. You can come in here and give it a corner fit. The reason I have these settings right here as an 82 and a 2 is because I went on to vector.com and I actually watched James's tutorial on the bitmap tracing, and he has like a 12-minute online training just for doing this, and what you'd actually be able to do. This is the one that's going to have the preview coming up. I'm sorry, it wasn't Nest. These guys, now you'll be able to hit preview and see what it looks like. So right there, I just had it select the black, where I could have actually went in here and said, not only select black, but select the orange. And you see as I'm doing this, certain things are changing because it's showing where it's going to trace. But I just wanted the mountains, so I did that. If I want to leave my picture here for later, I can come down here to toggle display, and I can say, oh, just turn off the bitmaps right now. I don't need to see those, and get rid of that. And then bang, there's that mountain range. It brought it in. And now I could, drag that to whatever size I wanted. Maybe I want to disproportion it a little bit, make them taller mountains, and then come in here and add some text to it. So that's kind of a generic one for doing that. What I've done several times is, even like a Google image of some clip art or something like that, or took a picture. The other day I took a picture of a guitar for a guy, saved it as a JPEG, came in here, imported the JPEG, had the guitar here, went in here and did trace, and it was just like a couple colors, and I traced the guitar, and we ended up toolpathing it real quick. So again, if you want a real detailed training on bitmap tracing, I would go to vector.com and go down here to support and training material, and it's right in here in the 2D. And he's got just a great one right here for tracing and machining images. It's 11.5 minutes. And James just does a great job with that, much better than I can do here. So that's where you can get going good with that. All right, BMP to vector. I think I answered Larry's question. You can choose climb or conventional cut. Sometimes it is useful to do bidirectional. Can you do that? I can. I'm going to come back to that when we're actually toolpathing, Gerald. I'm going to stick with the drawing for right now. I'll try to get you there. What is level 1 and level 2 referred to? So what he's asking down here is layers. What layers I'm drawing on. Here's a bitmap layer, which I have turned off, and now the light's on. So you can actually draw on layers. And, this, take it or leave it as you want. It's what works for you. Maybe you have a project that has a bunch of holes in it. So you could actually draw all your holes on layer 1 and then have all your profiles on layer 2, or bitmaps on its own layer. So now I'm tired of looking at the holes, or I'm tired of looking at the bitmap. I could just come in here and say, hey, turn you off. He's there still, I just don't see it right now. So, or maybe I'm just done with that bitmap, thing didn't come out right, and I just want it gone. I can just hit delete layer. Do I want to move to a different layer, or I just want to say nope, delete, goodbye, and it's gone. So that's the layers. I wouldn't get too much into worrying about layers yet, Mike. You get a dozen or two projects under your belt that are simpler ones before you get worried about drawing stuff on all these multiple layers. Will there be a class on the new ShopBot control software? Yeah, there will. When it's actually fully, oops, I'm clicking and thinking, and none of that ever goes good. We have a new version of the ShopBot actual control software, and that will be coming out here, within a few months. Right now, if you go up here and go current software, there's our current software, but then there's also the beta version that you can download right here. ShopBot beta software is out for testing, and once that is not any longer beta and becomes our standard protocol, I will definitely do a training on that, because we'll get a lot of tech support questions on that. So it'd be really nice to have a tutorial for the new one. And I don't know if you want to download it and play around with it. You guys are more than welcome to, and send feedback in on what is giving you snags or hiccups. And then again, that'll probably be out within a few months of the new one, and I'll do a tutorial on that. So. All right, looks like I caught up with questions. If I missed one, make sure you retype it in. Let me just see what else there was in the drawing menu that I really wanted to make sure we touched base on. Just a recap on a few things. This whole zooming, panning with the mouse is key. I'm using my scroll wheel, I'm moving around, I'm panning around, scroll in or out, or hold it and pan. It's real useful. Sweep select, if I wanted to sweep the whole thing, or it's everything that's inside gets selected. Where a reverse sweep select, it doesn't even matter if it's fully engulfed. It's just whatever it's touching is going to get selected. If I want to grab things, say one by one, I can click on it, hold the Shift key, and go through and click on these one by one. Which is slow. So what I would actually have done was sweep select the whole thing, hold down Shift, and now I click the parts that I don't want, and it deselects those. And then this is where I would group these together, or I would just hit G as a quick command and group them together. And remember, you have this help up here, help contents, 217 pages that you all have to have read by the next webinar, because the first half hour will be a quiz on the help PDF. It's not fair. I got to read it first too, right? So, grouped objects are solid paint. Dashed ones are just individual vectors. Any other specific drawing ones? Otherwise, we'll kind of move over and do a little, extra help on part work, or on the toolpath thing. Again, today's session was just some of them little forgotten tips and tricks that you might have used. Some things that help speed up, make you a little more confident, a little more accurate. It wasn't meant to be any means just a intro to here's how you draw and part works and go at it. It's kind of just some of those friendly tips that we've all forgot. All right, this next one, I'm going to actually switch over to the toolpath mode. And you see how I have already a couple toolpaths up here? This is something that I make a lot of mistakes, and we're so used to the whole software, all software is having this edit undo button. Unfortunately, for over here where toolpaths are, once you've deleted a toolpath, there is no edit undo. So keep that in mind. And the tricky part about up here too is when you were right here where we have delete toolpath, right now I'm always under the impression it's what I have checked here is what will get deleted. It's not. This check is just what is being visually shown over on the left-hand side. It has nothing to do with what's going to get deleted. It's this little box around. So right here, profile 1 is selected, but profile 2 is checked. If I go down here and hit delete, it got rid of profile 1. So not the one that was checked. Now obviously now it's the only one left. The problem is there's no edit undo. If I really wanted profile 1, now I've got to go in and redraw it, which sometimes can be a pain in the butt. So I want to make sure I've got it not here so much. That means nothing but physically showing it. It's right here, which one I have selected in the text. That's where I hit delete. A question we get a lot is the difference between, is pocket only for pocketing and profiles only for through holes? That's really not the case. Let me just draw a couple quick things here. Set me up for what I want to do. So we'll have side A and then side B. And what we'll actually do is go in here, and this first, some people ask, can I use a, traditionally we would come in here and pocket, right? I want to, or drill a hole. This size hole isn't the exact size of our drill bit, so we need to figure out if it's going to be a pocket or a profile. And I want to show you what happens to both, on both little circles and big circles. So first let's just start out with the small circle and this big circle. And I'm going to give these both a inside profile toolpath. And forget all the stuff going on with feeds and speeds and stuff. This is just a demo to show you this one real quick. Now let's come over here and make these a pocket. And I'm actually going to do a pocket of 0.76. I want the same bit that I used. And I'm just setting up a little visual here, so don't try to draw all this. Alright, so on the left we've got profiles, and on the right we've got pockets. So just to show you, sometimes you'll use a pocket as a profile for drawing holes. And this is why right here. Let's preview all the toolpaths. So as we see over here, the little hole. So the little hole done as a profile pass on the inside, it leaves this nub of wood. So that little piece right there is probably only about a ½ inch by ½ inch. It's just a little tiny circle. And what that is, if you're going to add a tab to that to hold that in place, now once it's cut, you've got to spend time removing the tab, sanding where the tab was, and cleaning that hole up. Where if I would have just done it as a pocket, it would have already been gone for me. So the pocket's going to take a little bit longer to pocket that out, but it's also going to save me the time that it would have taken to sand this and untab it. And here's the chance of this little tiny piece that comes flying out of there if I forgot to tab it or it broke off, and it could go up and chip a bit or break a bit. So in an instant like this, let's just right now, let's say I want to redo this pot. I want just this one pocketed, this little guy. It's telling me that that's going to take 26 seconds. Where if I did it as the profile, I do it as a profile, it's actually going to take 10 seconds. So technically this profile is going to profile a heck of a lot quicker than it's 16 seconds quicker. It's going to do that. But in 16 seconds, are you able to pop that tab out of there and clean up that edge and take the risk of that breaking out of there? I don't think so. So for a little hole like this, it might be better to just do a pocket and set the depth to go all the way through. So it's a pocket, but it's really it's taking it all the way out because I've profiled it to go all the way through. So in that instance, for a small hole, I would recommend using a pocket. Now this big hole right here, let's go ahead and redo the toolpaths on these. So if I just profile it to the inside, it's going to give me the dimensions I want. This is where I'd add a tab to it so that it doesn't come flying out of there. And I calculate that, and that's fine. And now I want to redo the pocket. So the pocket is inside as well. It's calculating, it's going to go all the way through. So let's reset, make sure we're right. Look at all this blue going on. That's all toolpathing. And this, see here, it's just going around the edge. So preview all the toolpaths. And now I'm going to go in here and look at estimated machine time. So I've got a 41-second profile with tabs, so 4 little tabs I just got to nip out of there. Or I've got a 26-minute pocket over here and it ate up all the wood. This big circle like this, being 12 inches in diameter, isn't going to come flying out of there with 4 tabs. It's making one pass all the way around. It won't take me much once it's out of there to go in there with a piece of sandpaper and clean up that tab. I can fit my hand in a 12-inch circle. But on the little ones, it's kind of the opposite. So think about that. You know, draw this up maybe and play around with that. When is it okay to use a pocket as a profile and a profile as a pocket? Depends on the size of the circle, size of the hole. So that's one that I find really useful when you're toolpathing these projects. Is do I really want that little nubby right in the middle of it that was right there? A little thing that's going to come flying out of there, or I got to sit there and sand? No. So I would just take those holes and make them pockets and just set the depth to go all the way through. Another thing that kind of gets forgotten over here, and it's not crucial, this one, but it's nice to know it. So say, here's my drawing, and I'm looking at the 3D, and if you look down in the bottom right corner, I can't really move my mouse there because it'll disappear, but see where my mouse is right now? Watch when I have it highlighted over the board. It's actually telling me my X, my Y, and my Z location. So you can kind of reference how far over is this second circle. All right, so I definitely needed a piece that was 44 inches wide to get over there. But notice the Z on top is saying 0.75, or as soon as I highlight over the hole, now it's gone back down, it's gone. So same thing, you can highlight over your tabs and it'll show you the height of your tab right there too. So, and the estimated machine time is pretty crucial to know. I want to know how long my file is going to cut so I don't start it and then I have to go to dinner and the machine's still going. A lot of people too forget about this thing down here called the scale. So what the scale is your machine might be set up a little bit different than the next guys. Everybody has a different scale on their machine, but once you got the scale set, you'll have this pretty much dialed in. So what I recommend you do is, say this one of your first simpler projects, maybe surfacing the table. As soon as you start the file, use a stopwatch or something and record it. So say we just went and cut this file right here, and I went and recorded it with a stopwatch, and it took 30 minutes exactly to cut. And I see right here my total machining time, it says it's 26:36. So what I can do is I can come in here and type in 1.6, whoa, 11.6, 1.6, it's getting closer, 1.7, right there, 30:06. So now I know I got a scale of 1.7 that's going to keep me pretty accurate. and then that scale won't really change. It'll be accurate within 10-15 seconds, but that's just a comparison, a scale rate, a ratio that your software is out on the machine to here. So the next file you come in, if this doesn't say 1.7, just change it to 1.7 or whatever yours ends up being. So mine's 1.5, and that estimated machine time is nice. And again, to the display tool database. This is something where a lot of people forget a lot of the stuff that's in here. The ShopBot router bit starter kit and the desktop kit. And one thing I like to always do is, if I'm using this upcut bit and it's got a feed rate of 6 inches a second, that's pretty fast for me going to cut into this hard piece of sugar maple I got. I might come up here and write myself a note, or original feed rate equals 6, so 6 inch a second. So now when I go down here and I've actually got it changed to 4 and I've saved it, I can always come back here and note to myself, oh yeah, it had a feed rate of 6. And especially if you're somebody on a shared computer or something and somebody starts going in here and changing all these settings on you, look out. So that's really it in the part work stuff that I had that's helpful stuff that people seem to forget. A couple up here in ShopBot 3 I'm going to go over real quick too. So I'm not hooked to a ShopBot at all right now. I'm just loading it up, and you can do this and load up in preview mode and just look at it and actually run a file right here, and it'll pop it out right here in preview mode and show you a 3D and 2D preview. So you always have right here the move cut or the preview, back and forth. And again, I'm going to do a whole training on this when the new software comes out, but that's not going to be released till early 2013. But a lot of people forget some of the simpler stuff that's in here. And really, if you go all the way over to the help, one you can go down to is keyboard shortcuts. And this one's really nice to have printed out. And I actually do keep this one next to my control box, to my machine. Say while you're running a file, you want to increase or decrease the move speed or the spindle speed. These show you shift plus or shift minus. You can increase or lower your spindle speed. That way you don't have to run back in and change the setting in your software. You could just maybe decrease it down to from the 14,000 down to the 12,000 and just write a note yourself, go in and change it on the file, but you don't want to necessarily shut the file off right then. So this is just a nice one, again, to have printed out and keep next to you. I honestly, I'm not very good at memorizing these versus I spend a lot more time in the partwork software drawing, so I've got those. But K is a nice one that brings up the keypad. Spacebar is how you can stop and pause a file. So those are real helpful. And again, that was just in help, keyboard shortcuts. Another one that's really useful that gets forgotten is tools, and come down here to chip load calculator. And there's a whole training, if you go back to ShopBot tools under our training, on figuring out feeds and speeds and bit selection. And this is just a really nice, we can go in here and figure out what chip load we need before we run a part. Maybe it's your first time running that material or with that bit, and you can go in here and you can get the different chip loads that are recommended, and just really useful stuff for figuring out if you're using the right feeds and speeds. So that one gets looked over a lot. And let's see, a lot too is when you get into installing a new computer. Some people or new upgrades, you got to come up here and do utilities reset. This is going to go in and want you to reset, and you go in here and you'd actually select. Make sure you got the right. There's a PR machine, and I'm hooking up to a desktop. So you make sure you select the right table. Is it a PRS, a PRT? What size is it? Is it a buddy or a gantry? That's something that has to do every once in a while. And same with install control box firmware. If you've had some different version running for a while and you upgrade to a new version of ShopBot or the ShopBot software, you'll actually have to go in here and go install control box firmware, and it'll take you step by step through how to load up that new firmware. So there really is a lot to just in this in the help menu. You can go in here and do a lot of troubleshooting. Now here's a quick reference. Click on that, takes you right over to the forum, brings up your browser. So, we got an error there. The document request is not found on the server. Well, that's good to know. I'll have to get that one fixed. So there's even a calculator built in. Look at that. But I guess the main stuff for today was all in the Partworks or Aspire. Again, we talked about how they're the same thing besides the modeling software. The VCarve Pro is the exact same thing as Partworks. It just has a different name because we have an output to our ShopBot. So I guess finished about 10 minutes earlier than I normally do. I like to wrap things up at the 2-hour mark and then ask for your questions. But now that we are a little bit ahead, we'll keep the next half hour or so open for anybody that has any specific questions they'd like to see. If it's something you'd like me to unmute you, just type in unmute, and I'll unmute you so you can ask your question. If you don't want to type it in, I completely understand that. Otherwise, I'll keep things muted just so we can still hear real well each other. But start asking some questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer questions specific that you have. And again, thanks for joining. And if you want a copy of this tomorrow, send me an email and I'll send it to you. Otherwise, watch for it early next week. It'll be on shopbottools.com and then under the training. And again, let me know if there's any other trainings that it's topic specific that you'd like to see. I got a whole database of people wanting to see some 3D toolpathing, some more of the ShopBot 3 software. The inlay training will be coming up December 17th. And I'm going to try to even get some going where it's not all, say, specifically sitting in front of the computer. Maybe assembling your machine or what to look for, wear and tear. Here's some other documents that we have that are very helpful, and you can shoot me an email. I'll send these to you. Here's a daily checklist. Here's something that you should keep printed and have right next to your machine. Right here, this is Gary Campbell, who works in our production support. He is our production support. Put these great documents together. Warm up your spindle first, which is a C5. Check your bit. Check your collets. They only have a lifespan of so long. How to check your gantry. Do your homing routines to get your X, your Y, and your Z put together. So these are all real helpful ones. That's the daily checklist you should do. There's a monthly one that you should be doing. Well, here they're both built into each other, but there's the daily, 40 hours, quarterly, annually. Just real good information and just stuff to help keep your machine tight and square and help prolong the life of your rack and your pinions and all that good stuff in between. So besides your pinions and your bits, that consumable stuff, everything else, you're gonna be impressed with what kind of life you get out of it. I'm gonna mute this to see if anybody's snoring because I don't have any questions. I usually have about 50 questions. So, hello, anybody out there? Unmuted. Hello, anybody out there? I muted you again. It was just too much rumbling back and forth. So, anybody have any questions? text in a bounding box, sure. So there's a box. Let's do draw text within a vector box. And I can just type in what I want. Apply. So it puts it in the centers it right in this bounding box. So now I'm able to convert this to a curve within that box, and I can just grab it and give that a specific curve versus actually wrapping it to wrapping a long curve. So this one I was able to just come in here and do something like that with it. And this is, again, this is right in here, spacing and curve. I'm actually able to come in here now too and hold the shift and make it bigger or smaller or just jumble it all up. So that's that one. Okay, so get right. Can a pocket? Okay, all kinds of questions now. Drawing. Sorry, I lost my thing. Kind of just jumped ahead. So Baki, the tracing objects was right here. Create vectors, and you go down to this last one, and that's how you trace around there. That's where the trace is. Drawing on brown on an angle. I'm not sure what that one means. Larry, if you want to retype that down at the bottom, I'll get back to it. If you mean drawing around on an angle, I'm just not sure. There's a typo there, so if you retype your question. How do you make text to be aligned to a curve shape like a ribbon? So to do something like that, you could do a 2-rail or 1-rail on this guy. So what I want to do is, say we have a curve. Let's have a simple curve like this, and I have some text. And I hit apply with my text. There's my text. So what I can do now is wrap text along a curve. So all I did was draw a curve. I drew my text, select a single line, and then the curve to wrap it to. And again here, you can be as specific as you want and hit apply, and it'll throw it on there for you. And you can stretch it and edit it along the. If you wanted to go back and edit it along, you'd go back in here and edit it in the text on a curve. So I hope that one is what you're looking for. Can a pocket go from inside to outside or be changed to outside to inside? So back in the drawing over here, now a pocket is limited to what's inside of something. You're not going to be able to pocket outside. So if I had this drawn and I selected a pocket, it's only allow me to go on the inside of this. Where on a profile, it gives me the option to go on the outside, the inside, or on the line. So what that's saying is, I got my little 1/4-inch bit out here. That's saying I can either cut around this on the outside, I can actually cut it on the inside, or I can have the bit be halfway over and cut a little on the outside and a little on the inside. And there might be times where there's times where you use all three of those, I guarantee it. Why is the rapid rate in millimeters? It must have just been It must have just got bumped over. It should all have been in inches. Baki, I believe I was using the upcut. Something must have got bumped over to millimeters. But you set them up for which a lot of people outside of the United States are obviously using the metric just fine. Somebody wrote beer. Okay, sounds good. How about if you change? Can we retouch on nesting? I was wondering if it is possible to nest a two-part toolpath, top and bottom of spoon. I have 2 files for this project. Can't figure out how to get them aligned top and bottom. My only, without seeing your specific file, I'm guessing maybe you have whatever it is that you drew. Say you've got, your spoon. Here's your spoon for oops. Say this is your spoon. Something like this, where I've got them centered over top of each other, and I've drawn them now as welded. So there's my spoon, and maybe you've got a 3D file coming in here where you actually you've got something going on in there. Or you want a toolpath on that as well. I think this is what you're getting at. What I would do is make sure I have these grouped before I nested them. I'm sorry if I'm answering that one wrong, but I think I have 2 files for the project. Can't figure out how to get them to align top and bottom. I think that's what you're looking for. Again, retype it more specific. Again, Larry Beer. Not yet. Not till 5. Bidirectional cuts. Are you guys not hearing me right now? Oh, okay. Can you go from the center of the pocket out to the inside? Yeah. Yeah, you can. Let's do that. So say we want to pocket this bad boy out. I believe we can do this. So offset, I can have it start in the middle or start on the outside. Raster, same thing. I have it selected for no profile. I have a profile thing at the end. So you can come in here and play with that. Offset a raster and climb conventional. And that's all you're going to get for options for pocketing. So I would play around with them to see if you can do what you want as far as those. But the climb and the conventional, switch the stop points back and forth. How do you import a tool database from Partworks to Aspire? Well, first of all, you got to find out where you save the darn thing. So once you get one all set up, what I like to do is I actually take this thing and I'll save it or export it out, put it on a different jump drive, or put it in my documents, someplace where I can always come back to it. Because right now I could go in here and I could say, hey, I want to import maybe Doug sent me his toolpath with all his files for doing cabinets. So I might come in here and just go import, and then I'd have to find the tool where they are, where it's saved at. And I believe if you go into like not my documents, but like my computer and go into like the C drive and look for the tool database, it's somewhere under the Partworks and program files or wherever your Partworks save tool. I think it's called Tools. Is what it will actually be called. So is it the top and bottom of the spoon? Is that what you're trying to do? Cut cut this like this today, and then have these all cut out and flip them over and cut the bottom side of the spoon, like the other end of it. Is that what you're getting at, Kevin? So let's see. How would I come at that one? Let me try to walk myself through this. So this side I want to do the what I would probably do is take and have, let's nest these, rotate parts. They can get rotated up to 180, let's say. Oops. Well, I guess I want to nest it first. I'd actually have all of my, this was a, well, I guess it's all project. I'd probably make a fixture is what I, yeah, I guess my best one was I would fixture the daylights out of this badass here. I want that thing to be right on. Say this is my size of my fixture board. What I would do is first I would cut out the spoons. This is where we get into, this could be an hour to hour and a half long drawing in itself, just to draw this to make it work for you. But what I would end up doing is, I'd take my spoons and I'd nest them in here, as many as I could. And then I'd also come in here and run that same file and then make an actual profile of it, where I'd come in here and I'd just cut on the, instead of cutting the inside, I'd cut instead of cutting on the outside, I'd cut on the inside. So then I'd actually have a fixture of all these spoons. And then now when I go and cut spoons, they'll all sit right down on this fixture. So it doesn't matter. I can set the spoon with it up or with it down. So that is how I would do that one. So to just do it real quick to show you, let's just nest, I don't know, we'll just nest like 12 of these in here. Oops, I didn't hit apply. So say I've got these right here. So to cut the spoons out all day long, I would first just have a tool path that profiles them on the outside. And this would be just one file this would be my go-to file that I go to and cut all day long. Just boom, I'm cutting out spoons, that's great. But what I would do to make a fixture for this is I would actually take, I wouldn't need the insides for this. Because I would actually take these now and I would make a profile that cuts on the inside. So that if you see this one, it cuts. It's a lot. See how the toolpath's in there a long ways? So when I preview all toolpaths, it's a lot smaller of a hole now. I actually would have probably just pocketed all those out. I would have actually made that a pocket, get rid of all that inside mess, and then each of my spoons could now lay down inside this thing. And I wouldn't have made it all the way through either. I would have just one height. I would have just pocket these, say, 0.5, and then bang, there's a jig. It's always going to be the same, and you can just lay your spoons in there each time and then run your existing toolpath over it. I made kiss drums like that. Okay, Larry, so Larry's made it work. Kevin, I hope that answered you, brother. That's what I've done before when I made a lot of the same parts, and I've got to monkey around with them. The only thing is, if you when you do this and you make this pocket, you might have to come in here and do a little bit bigger, like an offset, because it's going to cut it so exact that your parts might be so tight that you might, have a problem trying to get them in and out of there. So you might actually want to come in here and when you make your parts, offset them out just a little bit. Okay, I make kiss drummies like that. Holding device. What do you mean by fixture? Yeah, Doug, a fixture is like a holding device. Is really all it is. It's a clamp that goes around and holds parts in places. We got a lot of. If you go into like Google and type like CNC fixturing or jigging, you'll see plenty of examples of that. I think I'm still missing this. Somebody wanted something about some tool pathing. Bidirectional cuts. What do you mean? What are you talking about bidirection, I guess? I could set, each tool path I can grab and give a cut. Do I want it to cut climb or conventional? Like maybe some of these I want climb, some I want conventional. I'm going to have to grab each one individually and do it. Let's say I wanted certain, these 4 to have a climb. I would set them as climb. I'm not sure. Sorry, I missed your question. If you wanted to retype that one in. We have a guy who does like some, I'm trying to think what it was, bar handles, who came down here. And every single one of his bar tap handles is the same. It just has something different in here pocketed. So he just makes a fixture and sets them in there and then just pockets out what exactly he wants to put in each little groove. So, but the generic part stays the same. So, anybody else got any questions here? Type them in. Oh, here's one I missed. You get way out here. Where the heck is my drawing screen? I've lost it. So, if you hit F, that means full screen. It goes right back to full screen. So, F is a good command. And again, that I just found that in help and help contents. So that's where I found that one. Alrighty. Maybe the bidirectional cutting guy is the one that left. Oh, I feel bad. So, all right. Anybody else have any questions? What is the best way to zero a ShopBot buddy? Well, again, it's all going to come down to what project you're doing. If it's something 2D like this guy, it might be best just to zero to the machine base. So on your buddy, a buddy's surface comes with it's a 1-inch piece of Xterra. It's a man-made wood. It's 1-inch thick. It's exterior grade. It can get wet and stuff. And it's supposed to be real stable and not warped. So I'd probably just find a spot on that in the middle of it someplace, and just go to the same spot and zero it in the same spot every time. And use the Z-zeroing plate. That's the software has the thickness of that already compensated into it. So that's probably what I would recommend on the buddy. Is just find a good spot in the middle of that board where that way in case it's warped or anything at all, take that into account. Okay, start points and toolpath. So right now, if I went into node editing and I selected these, I can see where the start point is. The start point's out here, right in the middle of the spoon. Maybe for hold down purposes, I want this the start point to be in a different location. This is where I can come over here, right click, and make start point. So let's this one, the rest of them here, they're all at the top of the circle. So if we went in here to toolpath these, I can actually reset my preview, and if I want to run this thing, step by step, it's now running it. Well, it's not going to show, I guess, in the 3D. Oh well, but you know, your start point is where the bit enters and exits the cut. That's all that is. Sometimes when you have a board material that's really filled up and there's not a lot of space left, it's nice to stagger where your start points are to help the material from, you know, losing its hold down methods. But it's just the computer's going to generically give you a start point, and you can come in and be specific and tell it where you want it to actually start. All right, anybody else here? Anybody have any suggestions for next time? Slow things down a little bit, quit stuttering, quit saying so many times. Well, what do you got for me? I need feedback. Keep me from getting a swelled head over here. More trainings, less trainings. Give it up altogether. Tell me not to quit my day job. Shoot. Now listen, these trainings, for 2013, I've got it scheduled for the first few months to do 2 a month, which is, you know, more than we've ever done before. And, you know, luckily I'm in a position right now where I'm able to do that. So I'm going to give it a shot. But, you know, I only come up with so many ideas, and, you know, these get to be the same tiresome trainings. Maybe you want them a different day, different. Actually, they're probably going to stick around Wednesday at 1. But if you want them in a different format, more maybe with a video camera out in your face on the machine, squaring up the machine, what is a C3, C2 sort of thing? You know, would you rather see a camera than the part works going on in the background? I can do that. I'm looking into getting a camera and recording some actual footage on the machines themselves. So, you know, you get as much as you squaring up the machine. There's a suggestion from Doug. Now that's a good one. You know, I've been using my machine for 6 months now. I just ran it into a hard piece of wood. It's acting a little funky now. What are some just protocol steps to re-squaring this thing or checking it for square? So, improving accuracy. Yeah, you know, we know a lot of people don't even know it's very useful every 40 hours to grab the end of that gantry and shake it back and forth and see if your pinions have come loose, because every once in a while they do. They've loosened up. You got to retighten, loosen up those 4 motor bolts and push the motor back up into the rack and retighten it, stuff like that. So shoot me emails with what you want to see, and I will make training everything you've ever wanted and beyond. So, and again, if it's stuff that's already out there, I'm more than happy to do it again. But I will tell you, I love going to this Vectric site and using some of their training tutorials they have. And I really want to emulate what they do into mine, because I think it's just so well done and professional, and just such a fan of their software. That's all I use anymore is this. And again, you just go into Vectric, go to support, and right here's the training material. They got 3D stuff for Aspire and 2D, and just doodle along. Have another monitor watch these go through step by step. You'll really, if you actually did do it, and it took the first few months here, I'm like, I'll figure it out. But I actually sat down and started doing these. It really just makes you start going so much faster and more efficient. And that's kind of what this whole training was about today, which is some of those little tricks and tips that you've forgotten over the time being, or have thrown so much at you at one sitting that you weren't able to, write it all down fast enough. So, getting some suggestions in here, showing fixtures, scanning and cutting objects. Yeah, using fixtures. Yeah, fixtures would be great. Seed you pick of drums. I don't know what that one is. Seed you pick of drums. Yeah, I'm not sure what that one is, but using fixtures as a webcam. Best practices for upgrading the ShopBot control. High-level 3D with Aspire inlays. More time with ShopBot software. Yeah, okay, good. These are all good good advice. I'm writing them down as you're typing them out. So, oh, Gary, young man. I don't know if we can pull that one off. I won't even repeat that for the people in the video. Show pictures of drums. Show pic of drums. Kiss drums. I'm not sure. Sorry. But all right. Oh, the band Kiss. I gotcha. You want to trace their drums? Michael, you'll never drive me crazy. You just call with any questions you have. I'm anxious to come on board quickly. You will be. You did good. It was great meeting you. And seeing you down here. I'm glad you came back. You didn't get tired of me. You came back for this training. So, right on. Okay, so the question with the drum, show a picture of drums, kiss drums. So, yeah, you could download their drums and put it into the software just like we did with the little mountains. So, I can't even try to do that for you real quick. Let's see here. Yeah. I know. Gotcha. So you can bring the KISS logo. Is that what you're trying to do? Oh, you make all the drums. Right on with the ShopBot. Sweet. Sorry, I wasn't quite understanding what you're saying there, Larry. That's awesome. So the KISS's drums are made on a ShopBot. That is something I did not know. Right on, brother. That's cool. That is cool. So, where are you located out of, Larry? All right. I was just up in Southern Illinois University, Carbondale campus. They just got a ShopBot in their art department there, their sculpture department. They're going to be rocking and rolling here before too long themselves, so it'll be pretty sweet to see what they do. But that's cool. That is great. Yeah, sorry, they give you a chat window that's half the size of a Post-it note, so I'm trying to read these things if I get a little confused. But all right, going to wrap us up. Anybody else has got any other questions, holler them at me. File management. We design on the computer, and we cut on a second computer. We have used thumb drives. Now, using Dropbox, it seems to be working great. Curious as to what other options. Well, here's what I do, Tad, and to see if this works for you. Is I'm with you on everything you just said. That especially now that I'm drawing at home and then I'm drawing at work, and I want to cut files in other areas. So the Dropbox is huge. So in my documents, I've got the stuff just for Dropbox right there, where they'll come in and I'll throw my files in there if it's something I know I'm going to be working on at home, or if I'm going to be working on here at work. So Dropbox is a great way to store your files, and you can download that off the internet for free. So I recommend Dropbox. And then I also have just a folder called TJ Projects. So I know it's just my projects. And then I've got everything in here in folders, and I just alphabetical order what my project was called. So I just had to know what all my files were called, or if it's a specific job. Say it was the somebody's last name, Dundee chair set. That's what I call it, and save it in here. So if I ever had to go back and maybe I had the chair modified to fit the Dundees, or had the logo or something in it, that works for me. And this has been pretty good for me. I'm like, oh, okay, where's the entry bench? I need the entry bench. I just find it in alphabetical order. I go in, and then in here I've got any pictures that I've got. I got all them subbed off in a folder for the assembly of the bench. And then what I've got is I've got a Partworks file, and then I've got the toolpath file. But I also have one called entry bench 0.375 bit. So now I know I've got it drawn for both my 1/4 inch standard bit, and then I've also got it for a 0.375 bit. And I've also called that for the toolpath, regular entry bench 0.375. So I kind of know what they are, so I can just throw them on a thumb drive real quick and run out to the machine and cut them. This has worked pretty good for me. But if somebody's got something else better that they're doing, please share it with us. I'm always, the less time searching for things on your computer, the more time you're out cutting and working with your hands. So it drives me nuts when I'm trying to find stuff. But yeah, that Dropbox is great. I throw files on there, and love that. Here's a picture of my setup. This might just help people. Here's another, since we're doing tips and tricks. Do not have a vacuum. So I have this hole underneath. So what I'm able to do is mine butts right up to my garage door, and I'll actually open my garage door when it's nice out and have the big open shop, and then I can load from the front. So or when it's cold out, or when it's late and I can't be cutting and I don't make the neighbors mad, I'll shut the garage door, and I've got 2 shelves under here. I've got one for plywood and one for hardwood. So I just pull a sheet out till it's like the last inch is right here, lift it up, set it on this, and then push it all the way up into place. So that's my shop right there. I put this arm up above it for the hose, and it helps keep that hose, because my garage door opens right there. I don't have much room to have a hose dangling. So that arm just rotates back and forth, and I wish I could tell you specifics to that. That was just me with some 2x4s, anxious to cut, and started randomly cutting things to make that work. But it's great. It's just a dowel up here, and then I just waxed it and lubed it up. So it all. And the question is, what do I use for hold down? I use screws, and that's all I use, and I'm real happy with them. And I'll show you what I do in my tool paths to hold down screws. So what I actually do is let's go in here and open an existing file, and we were just talking about that entry bench. So see, this is a pain in the butt, so easier you can find it. So I just go, okay, entry bench, and I want the entry bench with the 0.375 bit. Open it up. Well, that's not the one I wanted, sorry. That one I use on a vacuum. That was for here at work. I don't have that. Open an existing file, just a regular entry bench. So there it is. And you can see all these little screws right here, all these little 1/4 inch holes. that's my hold down. So what I did is I drew my entry bench in there, and then I went around and I drew all these little 1/4-inch holes in places that I knew were safe, away from the evil 1/4-inch cutter that would chip up and break my bits. So when you see I toolpath it, I actually have a hold down toolpath. And what this does is it drills a hole 0.05 down. So this big full 4x8 sheet laying up there isn't going to go anywhere. So I just run a hold down toolpath and have it drill 0.05 down. And that's an actual just drilling toolpath. So it goes down 0.05 and comes back up. I mean, that's what, the thickness of what, two business cards in thickness, or 3 business cards. So it's not going to move the thing. Then I move the gantry out of the way. I run screws into all those holes, and then I profile. Then I run my profile, my pocketing, my profile. So there's your hold down, there's your pockets, and then there's your profile. And then again, everything is tabbed. And I use a tab that's just so minimal that it holds a part there, and I can just nip it out with a utility knife. And my tab size is 0.6 and 0.33 on this one. And I've actually got it down to about 0.44 and 0.22, and that works great. So yeah, hold down. And if you go and download any of those documents off the internet of mine for that entry bench, you'll see that you'll see how the hold down actually works. Let me zoom in on one here. So there's that bench. So, you know, it's showing you how the tabs are removed. Shows you, you know, how the, you know, put it all together. Shows you how to hold it down. All that stuff's on there for all those. So, yeah. What else do we have here? What do you use for hold down? Texture Rellas, texture Rellas sites. Release Relfus? I'm not sure what that is again, Larry. Okay, we'll see you, Gary. He said he's got to go. I got about 2 minutes too here, and I'm gonna have to go as well. So I have to get off this thing at 3:30, or I won't be able to save my recordings. It'll be too long, and then we can't watch it again. So. Actually, it's telling me right now that I have to go, or I'm going to lose it. If you have future questions, shoot me an email. Shoot me emails for anything else or questions you have or future trainings. Thank you, everybody. That went great. And enjoy, and let us know if there's anything else we can do. Thank you.